All right, I think we have everyone on now. So I'll go ahead and give you a few updates on service first. Today, like yesterday, we began operating with 31 trains in revenue service with gap train available to relieve any crowding or unexpected delays. That is the same as yesterday. We continue to work on getting additional trains, particularly out of Shady Grove Yard, which we touched on in the previous few days. So currently they're working to get access to a track to get those from the rail yard out to the system. As many of you know, there's a lot of capital work going on around the Rockville station, and they need to just do some track work to make sure that the trains can safely pass through. Currently that's expected to occur late next week is our best guess. So we'll keep you posted on that. Yesterday, our on-time performance was about 70%. About 70% of trains arrived within plus or minus 2 minutes of their scheduled time. A little bit better than yesterday. We're still working on making sure that we can meet the headways that we're advertising to our customers. And again, we appreciate everyone's patience as we work through this. Ridership, we had about 164,000 riders yesterday, or trips taken on Metrorail. That's roughly equivalent to what we saw on Tuesday last week, maybe a hair more, about 3% more. And a quick update on the 7Ks. We are continuing to work with the WMSC to finalize our inspection plan to test the 7Ks. We've been working iteratively with them. It's been a process in which we've been getting feedback from the WMSC to ensure that when we put forward our final plan, that it's something that they're familiar with and comfortable with. So that process continues. If we don't have an update for you on that later today, we will be sure to address it at tomorrow's board meeting, which I can say that we will have our Chief Operating Officer, Joe Leader, giving an update on service and an outlook for the first couple of weeks of November, and our Chief Safety Officer, Teresa Impastato, who will be giving an update on where the investigation stands on the derailment. With that, I can take any questions that you might have on service today. Feel free to raise your hand or speak up if you have any. Oh, I might be having some computer issues too. So if you have your hand up, you can just speak up for me. If not, we can break for today. And again, look forward to tomorrow's board meeting, which will cover all the latest information that we have.
Ian, it's Justin at the Post. Can you tell us a little bit about this plan, what you're working with? One thing that we had heard from David Meyer at the commission, and also at the press conference that General Manager Wiedefeld and Paul Smedberg held, that you're looking at more frequent intervals of inspections. Is that correct? And are you looking at a calculation there, or do you have like a general sort of figure? It's not going to be 90 days, but it's going to be something else.
Well, so what can I tell you is the plan is it's a testing plan. So what we need to show is that we have a plan in place that adequately detects any anomalies before they become a safety problem. So once the WMSC is in concurrence with that plan, we will then begin to test the plan to make sure that the data backs up what we expect it to. It's not the fastest process, but it is the safest process, and everyone from us to the WMSC wants to get this right. So at this point, we still do not have a timeline to offer. But what we can say is that we are, very close to finalizing our final submission to WMSC to get that process in place.
Ian, it's Tom Rousey, Channel 7, with a question as well. it seems like the process to bring the old trains back is a pretty slow one. And you guys have kind of hinted at this before, but at the end of the day, the only thing that's going to really make a dramatic difference is when you start getting these 7,000s back. Is that correct? Or would the Shady Grove trains be enough to make a fairly dramatic difference?
It would definitely make a difference. Obviously, any additional service we can put out there, we're trying our hardest to do. It makes a difference, to every customer. Every minute of their day is valuable and important. We understand that. For instance, getting Silver Line service back to the end of the line is something we can look at. Improving frequencies and making sure that we can recover from any unplanned, maintenance or disruptions, that you might see throughout the day. Any additional capacity is useful to help smooth things over.
Are we talking, if you say you get those trains, are we talking maybe 25 minutes instead of 30, or are we talking a pretty dramatic change, do you think?
I can't put a number on that today. I think Joe Leader tomorrow will continue to address the service portion of this. So I'll just say stay tuned for that.
Sure. The question you were answering was just basically what if you said you can't put a minute on it, but how much difference it will make if you can get those trains from Shady Grove back in service, basically.
Right. So I don't have a number to put on it today. I would just say to stay tuned for Joe Leader's presentation tomorrow. I think we'll get in effects next week and moving forward.
And as far as though, at the end of the day, is the only thing that's going to make the truly dramatic difference getting those 7,000s back in service?
Correct. Yeah, I'm not sure if you heard me say that. Any additional capacity we have is obviously very welcome. Getting any minutes of anyone's day back is very valuable. So one of the things that we'll look at is getting the Silver Line operating back to Largo and having additional capacity to deal with any unplanned.
And my last question was just, you were talking about how you're working with WMSC on this plan for the 7,000s. You still have not, because they keep telling me they're waiting on the official submission of it. You still haven't officially submitted it, correct?
Correct. Yeah. We are finalizing it. As I said, it's been iterative. So they've been giving us some good feedback along the way, so that when we have our final submission, we at least have a good understanding about where we are. Let's see, Jordan.
Hey, and I can't tell if it's my computer. I'm plugged into a different system than I usually am, but isn't Ian's just a little modulated? Is anyone else hearing that, or just me? Anyways, not that big a deal. My question was, you mentioned, we'll hear more about service levels tomorrow. I think you said we'll hear more through about mid-November. So obviously we're probably looking at that, but any estimated or updated timeline on the return of 7,000 series? I mean, weeks, months, any greater picture on that?
No, at this point, I can't put a number on it. We clearly want to get them back as quickly as possible to, provide, a good level of service for the entire region. At this point, we want to get it right. And to do that, we have to, follow a very deliberate process to make sure that it's as safe as possible when they come back. So
and then one other question, wondering, obviously this is a tough time for riders. Have you gotten increased complaints or, rider feedback during this time, or how could you summarize what riders are telling you about their experience?
I can't quantify it for you. It is clearly a very understandably frustrating time for everyone who relies on us. It's not the kind of service we want to provide. It's what we can do safely at this time. So we continue to appreciate everyone's understanding about the need to move forward in the safest possible way. And we appreciate everyone who's stuck with us and continues to stick with us to get around the region.
And then my quick last question, I think you touched on this a little bit yesterday, but Metrorail safety, David Meyer pointed out that Metro had run 2 train cars with the identified kind of out of compliance wheels, even though Metro knew about that. I think you mentioned that there's kind of new protocols in place, but do we know how that happened in the first place? Was it just not aware that those trains were affected? How did those trains get out on the system?
Yeah, there's no excuse for that to have occurred. It was, clearly an oversight that we've taken steps now to prevent. As I mentioned, in addition to markings outside of the trains, we've tagged the inside of the operator's cab throttle to ensure that only a supervisor can authorize any movement of that train. And it's also something we continue to work with the WMSC on to make sure that those protocols are strong enough. So if they come back and we figure out a way to make it even stronger, we will do so. But clearly an inexcusable occurrence. We took the train set out of service as soon as we learned of it, and then shortly thereafter, the entire fleet of 7Ks.
All right, great. That was my last question. Thanks.
Hey, Ian, it's Adam Tuss. With the 2s and the 3s, well, first of all, are there even any 2s out there yet? Are they on the tracks yet?
We currently have 2s, 3s, and 6s out there.
2s, 3s, and 6s. So what's being done in terms of monitoring those axles and monitoring those trains? Are they being put through any sort of inspection process the same way that the 7s would be?
I mean, they're being put through the same maintenance and inspection process that they have always been. We've always operated with some legacy cars in the fleet. In fact, about this number of cars that we're currently running, we'd be running on a typical day. So we've not let up our safety inspections and maintenance programs on those cars, and that's why at any given time you have about 10 to 15% of your available cars out for scheduled maintenance and repairs.
Have there been any unforeseen issues that have come up since some of these older rail cars have come back on the tracks?
I don't think we've seen anything unexpected now.
Ian, it's Justin again. Real quickly, have you heard or do you know whether any repairs are happening to the cars that have this issue? Has Kawasaki stepped in? Is it still under warranty? Will these cars get repaired?
Those are questions I believe will at least partially be addressed by Teresa Impastato tomorrow. So I'm going to defer to her presentation tomorrow on what those steps look like. Great. Anybody else with questions today? And I'm sorry for losing you guys earlier. I'll get you hopefully both links in just a bit. All right, nobody else, then we will see you tomorrow at the board meeting. Thank you.